been. Without him, we wouldn't have been, because through his inspiration, Honorable Michel Sidibé, who is the African Union's Special Envoy for African Medicines Agency, when he started his initiative to start bringing around countries to firstly signing the African Medicines Agency Treaty, and then ensuring this treaty is ratified and then deposited with the AU. If he hadn't shown up, we would have been left in quite a big gap there. With his initiative and personal charm and great skill, I think I just spoke to him earlier and saying that amongst the several African Pan-Africanists we can think about, his name will be added to that, because he is delivering us something that's very important to the health of Africa, and it will join us from Cape to Cairo. And as I said, even from my friends in Morocco, who have said that they seem to be the most westerly point from Morocco right down to Djibouti, we can work to that. As you know, the African Medicines Agency Treaty was first brought into play in 2017. It took us quite some time to get it agreed upon and then signed, and then slowly the trickle-down signatures started beginning. And as you know, by the time the pandemic came and then the urgency became even more acute, that's when in 2020, we then had to get the 15 requisite members. And thanks to His Excellency Michel Sidibé, we were able to get those 15 member states to ratify and bring the treaty into force. Now, firstly, Michel Sidibé, talk about something about yourself. I think I want to know, where is that passion coming from? You know, it's something so unique. Is it something Malian? Is it something your personal? Where is that passion coming for this initiative? I mean, you were exemplary in that passion and charm that you brought into this process.
Let me start by saying thank you to AMATA. Thank you for really giving us opportunity to interact this morning. I'm in Bamako, so it's 8 o'clock. But also to have been instrumental in this ratification process. You have been always there. So you talk about passion. I think I remember my mother telling me, leadership without a passion is it is not a proper leadership. And she used to add, you know, passion is not enough. If you have a passion and you don't have a compassion, please, you will miss an important point. And she added, don't forget, passion, compassion without empathy will not make you a leader. So I personally feel that throughout my life, I've been always driven by those words. And thanks for her for giving me those words, because those words made us close to people in the need. I can say the fight for social justice, the fight for more equity, the fight for certainly better redistribution of opportunities. So all of that probably brought me to this debate today to say our continent cannot be always the second in line. When we have a crisis, when I used to be a UNAIDS executive director, we wait 7 years before getting the drugs to the poor people. So, you know, I want to my brother to just say that's all. And of course, it's important for the people who are listening to us today to set the scenery for them, because of course you have been summarizing quickly, but over the last months, the African Medicines Agency has gotten wind in the sails, like you used to say. Months and years of preparatory work by many leaders across the continent and globally, including AMATA, have set the table for the creation of this essential building block to Africa health care system. It is, in fact, essential because it is a security issue. You will never have a global health security. I'm not talking about security, health security in our continent, in Africa, but global health security will not happen without making sure that we can provide our poor people with a medicine of quality in, of course, affordable manner, and make sure that at least this all transfer of competencies and knowledge will be done through a proper channel. So I want to say that in recent weeks and months, more than 22 countries use emergency procedures to ratify the AMA Treaty after intensive engagement and interaction. And for me, as a result, the treaty is now active, like you said, because the required number of ratification has been reached. And that is very important to mention. In parallel, continued engagement is happening, and more ratification are probably expected in the next 6 months, 6 to 8 months. So the speed you mentioned and scale of these ratifications is a unique achievement compared to a base case. And it takes really a time to reflect on all those. It would have never happened without a collective commitment. It would have never happened without the fact that the political leadership, the civil society, the passion groups, and we'll talk about all of that, have been mobilized and they understood that the time is now. The time is not tomorrow. We should not anymore be completely dependent to global regulatory system. Africa need to produce their own medicine. Today, if you compare the data we have, you will find out that almost 95% of medicines are coming from abroad when we are importing, when India is importing maybe maximum of 15% and China 5% for the same level of populations. So it's very important for us to take time to reflect on those. And I'm talking about medicine, I can talk about vaccines, and we can think why all those things are not happening. I can tell you lack of proper regulatory system, lack of a clear framework, procedures, and which will not allow us to track fake medicine and encourage people who want to invest in the way that they can really help poor people to have access to medicine. So I'm critical, and I take the opportunity to commend seriously Rwanda for being selected as the hosting country for the agency. I am saying that not lightly, because I am convinced that with the leadership of President Kagame, things will move quickly. We will be probably able to see this structure being operational soon. And that is really what we are hoping. Because we have made a tremendous progress that can probably catalyze us into demonstrating the real impact of AMA if we take advantage of it. So I want to stop there from the passion, the compassion, empathy to briefing quickly our audience about where we are today.
Yeah, Thank you much. I think that is what we were here to hear, joined to hear from you. I think this is one treaty which has got compassion written right through its center line, yeah? And it is about empathy in the center, with empathy with us, the patients. So I'm speaking of from a patient perspective. This is the first time I've seen an international legal document prepared with us in its mind. And with that, I would like to say that we now would like to hear more from you in that, yes, we said, you know, in the African setting, the rhino is slow to get up and even slower to start. But once it's running, it's very difficult to stop. So yes, the more ratifications are going through. And I join with you, with all of our patients, for thanking Dr. Kagame, President of Rwanda, for having taken that broad move and taken charge of establishing this AMA in Kigali. It will be a great occasion. Now, the question that we're now asking you next is on this. What do you foresee? How will it, what will be the next moves? When will the recruitment process start for the directors, selecting the teams, and what would that look like? Because as you know, it's a very new, unique experiment in Africa, and we're all interested in that. What will happen next?
Well, I think your question, I can take it from a different perspective. I can take it certainly from a political and operational level to see what could be next steps at both political and operational, not focusing only on the operational aspect, which is important. I don't want to say it's not important, but whatever I will be saying, it is just engaging my personal view.
Yes, most definitely.
At this moment, it is because as you can still have a conference, certainly the highest body dealing with all this AMA, and certainly overseeing that one and bringing different partners and others. So what I will share with you is again my personal view, my vision, my commitment on, to this important agenda. Of course, I will start by saying that with increasing attention, including expression of support and interest from many major public and private stakeholders, including AMA, as AMATA, as they are lining up to support and help AMA be successful, it is time to accelerate the operationalization of AMA and deliver, of course, the promise of a strong regulatory environment for a stronger health ecosystem for the future. Without any doubt, the momentum that has been created provides a unique platform to accelerate the setup and impact of AMA. Personally, I see 6 immediate priority areas of interventions. The first one is to keep strengthening the position of AMA. Like I said, that is the first things I would advocate for, and ask all of you to also continue to work on it. It is important to have a country like South Africa, Nigeria, Kenya, Ethiopia, DRC, and others countries in the continent joining the treaty. And certainly not only signing, but ratifying the treaty. It is important to continue for the credibility of the AMA to drive the ratification agenda, while also ensuring AMA is, I think, is included and represented appropriately in the major fora and discussion like you're creating space today for, on the African continent and beyond. It is very important to not lose the momentum. This requires a careful mapping from my point of view, an engagement strategy by a broad range of players, orchestrated by African Union, like I said, the conference of state parties, involving all key agencies such as CDC, NEPAD, AMRECH, and all other non-state parties, I think is key. So two, I personally feel that is we need to clearly articulate the AMA strategy and plan. This is very important and is urgent. The overall objectives of AMA are broadly understood and supported by all the people. There is, however, a need and an opportunity to clearly articulate our desired impact and priorities. The trade-off we are making exact products and activities, our roadmap certainly for the next 1, 3, 5 years, and the resources, the financial, the talent you are talking about, the partnership we need. I think that is the second one, a clear plan and strategy. That is my vision. And third, I think is important to develop the funding strategy and roadmap. The broad support for AMA provides a unique opportunity for fundraising the appropriate budgets to launch AMA and secure its sustainability. Can AMA launch the first ever replenishment for an African-based health institution? Why not? Is a foundational endowment an option? How do we envision engaging with potential donors and partners? Those are questions which I will continue to certainly ask myself. Four, I think, is a time to define and start building the skeleton organization, like you were just mentioning. Based on the strategy, start building the new institution, AMA will become, this includes the urgency for working with African Union leaders on identifying the major function and capabilities and defining the blueprint of the organization. I think that is very important. Over time, this will include selection of critical leaders, including the leaders for certainly leading this all AMA. Okay. So fifth, I think build AMA partnership and coalitions. I think that is very important. And I will say that is even critical. The success of AMA will in many ways depend on its ability to recruit support from partners in the broader health ecosystem. And that's why we are here today to discuss and to interact with a large group. And finally, identify and deliver 5 major impact cases for AMA with partners. So I think those are areas where I personally feel will bring some credibility, will help us to have a direction and have a key areas where we will be able to invest with the leadership of African Union, with, of course, all the experts from the continent and beyond the continent to continue to change completely the trajectory and quicken the pace of action.
So I'm so glad, Your Excellency, because I think you've really spun out what we witnessed here in Europe when the European Medicines Agency was being thought of. And we found that, as you have just explained, the European Union, I suppose now we can say the African Union, the European Union included this project as a total project. It was an economic project, it was a banking project, it was a financial project with the European Development Bank, it was a project with individual regulatory authorities, it was about industry, but partners with the international trade, and all this was then added into the mix. And as you said, your fifth point really was very important to some of our members, there's partnerships. And in Europe, that leads to my second question. As you say, AMATA was formed with the view that we should have broader partners within that African Medicines Agency work for the African Medicines Agency to become a household name and being accepted across a broad spectrum of activity. We need a broader set of partners. And with this, I'm speaking on behalf now of the African Universities Network that's a part of AMATA. You've got patient organizations, civil society, industry partners, even to that respect, and others. How do you see that panning out? Let me put a direct question to you. Do you think there is a need for once AMA is established, a framework of non-state actor engagement, for instance, like the WHO has done for many of its projects? Do you think that's a sort of thing that's possible? And same as the European Medicines Agency has done, they've set up a framework for patient and consumer working party engagement. What do you think? Would that be an advancement? Would that help once things have been set it up? What's your view on that?
No, I think, we are in the world today where anytime you're trying to exclude, you're losing. That is my experience. You need to bring all the forces together and make sure that they are mobilized around a clear vision and support a process which will help you to deliver. Let us remember that the progress made in ratification, like I described, process of AMA Treaty, and especially the pace adopted by the signatory countries, was only possible thanks to the unconditional, and I said, support of a set of critical stakeholders, regulators, researchers, academic institutions, private industry, and patient organizations. Ratification process has highlighted the importance of these institutions, not only as individual entity, but also what can be unlocked when they collaborate and advocate at scale. We have seen achievement and impact we might not have thought was possible before. So I personally feel that the non-state organization will remain key. The task at hand is very significant and requires clarity of role and responsibilities, as well as adequate resources. Without an acceleration of leadership and infusion of capacity, AMA is likely to struggle to continue to drive and shape its agenda and priorities. This could include some specific action, because you were talking about a non-state organization. I think first, it will be good under this framework to set up a foundational team. I think this leadership team will require significant support with a range of skills, including experts of state and non-state actors who can represent adequately in technical fora and bring their know-how, and also mobilize political leaders who can help sustain our momentum. So, and bringing also institution builders who have experience, who can help launch the institution, and also tap on knowledge of those different constituencies to have a project and program management support to help keep a pace and achieve the aggressive timeline we have in mind. I think that is for me one first phase. The second one is a secure for national funding. Non-state parties can be very helpful, advocating, demonstrating, showing that for national funding would provide the core AMA team with leverage and capabilities, given the urgency of action to shape the agenda, and use, of course, from my point of view, this all available momentum, which is critical. We should not lose this momentum to leverage this all different partners to come together and to deliver. So finally, it will help also help to engage national regulatory agency, regional regs, and member states, continuing to align on the vision and generate support from the member state will be critical, in particular via the PRC, which is program review committees. Further, it will be critical to align on the right ambition here for the complementary of AMA and the national regulatory authorities. So I think all those are key for me and will certainly be important. And if we miss to mobilize those energy out there and to make them critical under a framework which could be managed by African Union, by, of course, the Conference of State Parties, and it will be, we will be missing an opportunity.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. I think you have really put a very good picture, very high granular definition picture for us to now work to. As you all know, I'll just summarize the session and then we go to the questions. His Excellency has really showed us that this is a ship that has sailed, but is still being built. We need to be all working together. It's something that was needed. The ratification and the bringing those 15 and making sure that it was enforced was important to sail it. Now we have to build it. And I think the political skill that we all need to exercise is very important. And we should continue with giving our undying support to this project and make sure that it carries on. As you know, there are difficulties and challenges that come in any project, but if we build it slowly as we have intended, without, as His Excellency said, if you isolate someone from something, and that is excluding someone is failing your project. We have included everybody in, we are bringing them in slowly one by one. As the ship is going, it's picking up more passengers, more support. And you're quite right. It's got to be a joint effort by everybody. It's everybody's concern across Pan-Africa. It's every regional economic bodies have as much stake in this. Regional regulatory agencies that will be there have a much, as have the national. And lastly, I think you have clearly said we have done a great job at that. Now, without keeping Your Excellency any longer, I will start with the questions. Nation, firstly, Nation, can you answer the question? Can you raise the question? Rachel, can Nation come on?
Yes, I'll just give him the opportunity to speak. One moment.
1 second.
Go ahead, Nahashan.
Nation?
Thank you so much, Kawaldi, and really good listening to Dr. Sidibé. And we are grateful for all the leadership you have exhibited in this process, Dr. Sidibé. Ratification and getting AMA active is a very important work, and certainly launches us into the next important phase of getting AMA really working. And somebody that there's a lot of work to be done, and I've listened to some of the comments you've made. In your view, what do you consider the immediate priorities, and what role do you see civil society organization play with regard to what you consider to be the next immediate priorities for Operation Rising AMA?
Excellent. Now, Navashon, did you finish?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes. Okay. Excellent question. I think first of all, I will say that you have 3 levels where AMATA can be and non-state members can be very critical from my point of view. First, at the continental level, first of all, at the continental level, continuing to advocate for more countries to ratify AMA, and above all, to engage in operationalization of AMA as a technical, financial, or mobilizing partners. I think that help through the implementation of the African Medicine Agency, regional economic communities, and countries to identify, collect, analyze, store, and appropriately use data for science-based regulatory decision-making will be key, because it is lacking completely. First, we need to continue to have this all, of course, at continental level, make sure that AMA becomes strong, credibility is there, and then help the implementation of AMA, make sure that regional economic communities and countries, are equipped and capacitate to identify, collect, analyze, store appropriately data, because it's one of the challenge we'll be faced with. So to make sure that all the decision on a regulatory level will be science-based regulatory decision-making. I think second, it is at the regional level. At the regional level, AMATA could support from or any other structure, support visit to exchange experience, aim to reinforce and mentor between more mature national regulatory agencies, from my point of view, and those who have not reached the maturity level 3, to share knowledge and create a space for collaboration. I think that is very important. Today, we know that we have an opportunity and we have a great regional based approach. We have been seeing a lot of harmonization movement going on. And it will be interesting to learn from, positive experiences and make sure that those experiences could be shared with other countries. And finally, at national level, because I'm saying 3 levels where you can really be, AMATA should support the existing structure, at regional and continental to strengthen the capacity of NRAs, national regulatory bodies, their capacity in terms of leadership, and also capacity with teams which are working with them. This capacity building element is a prerequisite for promoting the achievement of maturity level 3 and establishing sustainable good governance practices. And that is key. One of the essential steps from my point of view would be to urgently help the 36 maturity level 1 countries implement their institutional development plan. In addition, AMATA could consider strengthening national ethics committees in order to reduce the administrative burden and increase the effectiveness and soundness of the review process. I think for me, those are 3 critical areas, levels, where we can see an entry point for AMATA.
Thank you very much. I've got one more very important question. This is the role of RECs in operationalizing AMA. It's from Miamouna Diop from Senegal. Are you able to ask your question?
Maimouna, tu peux poser la question en français? Hein?
Bonjour, Michel, ça va?
Ça va très bien, ma sœur. Comment que vous allez?
Ça va, je vais très bien. Je vais très bien.
Ça me fait plaisir d'entendre votre voix.
Voilà, c'est ça. S'il y a la traduction, je parle en français, mais s'il n'y a pas
parlez en anglais. On leur a déjà, les a dribblés déjà.
D'accord. Okay. Thank you very much for the presentation, Michel. My question is just, I think that you just talked about it, and it was about what do you think about the role of the regional economic communities and countries in the operationalization of AMA. And the question I have is, I do think that AMA will be now in Rwanda, but each country should really play a key role. And I was thinking that one of the roles that can be something sustainable is just to see how we can just redynamize this issue of having centers of excellence, and depending of the region or depending of the country, because we are discussing currently with some partners how can Senegal can really support this with as they have some comparative advantage with the quality control labs, because we have some master degree in quality control, we have a good labs, and I was thinking that it can be the same for as a region and as a country in other thematics related to AMA, just to have your views on that. Thank you.
I think it's an excellent point. Personally, I think I should have certainly insisted more on it, but I just touch it quickly. First, AMA should not be just replacing national regulatory authorities or regional harmonization processes. I think it will be a huge mistake and it will not work. AMA will just come in complement of those. And a strong AMA will depend on strong national capacities. That's why I was just talking about all those things. And AMA cannot be just a body which will pretend. That is, again, please, anything I'm saying is just my understanding and my vision. Cannot be a structure which will be doing everything in one place. I think we need to mutualize, like Maimouna said, the competencies which are in a different part of the region. It could be on bioequivalence, it could be on, any other areas where we think that this region is more advanced. These countries have more capacities in northern part, like a little bit European medicine did at the beginning. They realized quickly that they could not be able to deliver on all the requested tasks alone. So they said, okay, Senegal, you will do that. Okay, in the case of Africa, but in the case of Portugal, you will do that because you have a very good bioequivalence institute. You will do that because you have a very strong pharmacovigilance system. You will. So I think it will be very important in the conception, in the vision, and others to think like that. Maimuna, I fully agree with you.
I think you've really answered that question. I think even that's made me thinking right now. As you know, I had a professor who used to say that everybody thinks that all roads lead to Rome, meaning that Rome became successful because it was there. But he said it was the other way around. Rome actually built all those roads to those places. So same way the African Medicines Agency, we will have to find those competencies. We will have to go and look for clusters of excellence. And you're absolutely right. It has to be shared responsibility with clusters of excellence and each region to take ownership of that. That is a wonderful example. I think geographically, I think the challenge is, have a look. As a children, when we were growing up at school in Kenya, we used to put in countries into Africa, and you can imagine the whole of Europe can fit in 3 or 4 times into Africa. This is how large it is. So it's not a simple example. Now to make sure that we release you in time, we have a very good question here. I'll put across to you. The question was, what should we be all doing, helping you and others to bring in Nigeria, Ethiopia, and South Africa? I think South Africa may have already ratified, if I'm not correct, yesterday. How do we bring in these powerhouses into the heart of AMA? How do we get them to ratify and deposit? Is there
I think it is a very good question, and I personally feel that you don't have another way to do it except making sure that we sustain our advocacy, and we mobilize political leaders. Because when you talk about quickening the pace of ratification process, you need really to bring political leaders, on the top of the issue. And those political leaders, when they are able to understand, they can go with emergency processes and, to make sure that ratification can be done. I think your advocacy, the work you have been doing, grassroots work, approaching different partners in the ground, working with national regulatory bodies, making sure that they are completely involved, and help them to be equipped to really push for this quick ratification. Because in fact, those big, I don't have a small and big country from my concept of life, but I personally feel that those countries will be critical because the volume they are bringing, the know-how they are bringing is key.
Thank you much. I think you really brought this subject matter to us. So we'll have just 3 more minutes just to comment on this. I think you've excellently put this. We are discovering Africa. I think in your earlier discussion, we are all discovering Africa. I think none others are the African lawyers who are working with us. They will hopefully be joining AMATA soon, Consortium of African Lawyers who have worked across, and they're having a fantastic time in law centers in African universities. For the first time, they're discovering the myriad legal systems in Africa, the monoism and duism of having treaties implemented, where you have a monoism where the president decrees and says, yes, we will have the treaty, and the treaty then becomes national domestic law. Then the dualism is about the treaty going through 2 stages. The president ratifies, and then the rest of the parliament follows. And from a law student's perspective, this is wonderful. I think we should keep on encouraging those law students. And those law schools who are listening in today, please join us and bring your expertise into it. My final, to bring everything on time, as you said, we must set the example. 9:50, you said, it's 9:50 or 8:50 your time. Thank you very much, Your Excellency. You have given us an excellent food for thought, a great, compassionate plea again for us to go and do better, for us to take this challenge forward. And as I said, it is so pleasing to see that your enthusiasm hasn't waned. You're still smiling, still keeping that charm and offensive going. And I thank everybody else who has joined us for this session, that we will continue further discussions. And thank you all for joining us. Please join the AMATA. We have, Rachel will not forgive me for this if I don't mention it. There's a mechanism for you to get online. Please join us for further discussions. We would like to have, we are looking at setting up a Pan-African Patients Academy to develop further insights into regulatory and other effects and knowledge. We would like to bring that on board into play. And once again, everybody, I'm sure you will join with me to thank His Excellency Michel Sidibé for such an excellent work they've done. And let's make sure we keep his legacy going and really making it a wonderful Pan-African organization. Thank you very much, and take care.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, Semi. Thank you. It was an honor for me to be with you this morning.
Honor, thank you very much, and
Thank you.
release you all. Take care, everybody.